Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator, actively alienating everyone, in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, wonderful dice. Of all alignments, I am Lunar D8. Bah! OBS Chan seems to be working just fine. So, let's hop into this, shall we? Did I... Volume? Volume's high. So, lowering volume. Oh, that muted it. Okay. How's volume? That should be good. You passed up easy money on my behalf, Emil. I'm honored. We'll lower it just a little bit. There. The volume should be good there. Currency is but a relic of the days. Pride is forever. And I wouldn't be able to handle the shame if I failed to send you off properly, now would I? Thank you, number 2. I appreciate that. Star Trek reference? Although I'd doubt you'd think so little of money if you had to, actually pay rent or something. A delightful hypothetical to be sure, one that I'm eager to explore in the coming months. There is no way you're excited to pay rent, my guy. You don't have to act big around me. I'm pretty sure we both know it's gonna be terrible. Perhaps. But for now, we are young, and free of debt. So just give me a second to go to the bathroom, and then we'll get started, alright? Alrighty. Oh, and number 2? If you decide you need to go number 1 in there by any chance, don't pull your pants all the way you're in front of the urinal. Somebody might walk in and see your butt. Start laughing so hard that I'm barely able to complete my sentence. I was 8 when that happened. Yep, that's what Ash told me. And you weren't even going to the same school as me yet, so I didn't need to. His description of the event was itself transcendent. Emil is such a smug guy that I have to take the wind out of his sails every now and then. Otherwise, he'd just fly away. Well, I suppose if pride is forever, then so is shame. We love you. Shut up. Emil walks away, humbled but not completely put out. In fact, the time I've sat down and finished out my copy of The Stranger, he's already begun making his way back over. He sits down across from me and we begin our discussion. The technique that the author uses is remarkable. He writes in such a way that when Marisol is detached, he's still quite relatable. Hardly the heroic type, though, right? Well, you're much less hateful of the main character this time around. Indeed. While he is technically the protagonist and is clearly in a pitiable situation, I can't say he deserves what happened to him. I can't say he doesn't deserve what happened to him by the book's end. Tell me, what do you think of Marisol's greatest sin was? That's too broad of a question. There's an entire potluck thing the jerk did horribly. Oh, so my choice didn't matter. So if we start driving to something that esoteric, we're going to end up being here all day. But I've got something out of this book I've been dying to ask you specifically, Emil. Oh, you don't say. Normally, Emil would be much more upset that I dismissed his musings so rapidly. But I know he can't resist a good challenge. He smirks, as if to say, let's see if what you're bringing to the table is worth my palate. So what is it then? What exactly is your question? Alright, so every good story needs a villain, right? or at the very least, some sort of strong antagonistic force. But everybody in the book's so rotten that you can't figure out who that person is supposed to be. So, in your opinion, who is the story's antagonist? Is that all it is? Well, the answer to that is obvious, Oliver. Is it not the main character himself? Is it not Marisol? After all, his refusal to think for himself or commit to any meaningful role in life ultimately is what allows him to be taken advantage of. He'll do anything, say anything, become anyone, so ultimately he's goaded into becoming a murderer. No way. No, that's so backwards, dude. You don't think the guy that gave him a gun halfway into the book and was all like, go shoot the other guy, he's been looking at me funny, is to blame at all? You don't think Raymond is the antagonist? No. Nope, not at all. It is Marisol's own weakness that allows him to be so malleable. If it wasn't constantly at ends with himself, dueling with his own antagonistic forces, he would have never been put in such a ridiculous situation. My ear itches. In other words, it's his own fault that he was manipulated. That's way too cold to be correct. No, there's no way that can be right. I'm almost certain that it is. Raymond may be a bad person, but he's hardly the story's antagonist. By definition alone, Marisol fits that role snugly. So if you're trying to shark some kid out of a rare trading card, or trick an old lady over the phone and lending you money, then that wouldn't make you a villain? That's a fallacy, officer, the straw man's fallacy. Oh, actually, I think it's not, but okay. Context matters. What if I knew that little punk stole a card from my sister, and I ended up tricking him so that I could easily return it to her? What if the old lady in question had to mention I needed her to give me a credit card number so I could buy her groceries? And even if surface details points to villainous intent, in the grander scheme of things, I still not the antagonist of whatever story I'm in. But that's also kind of the other way around. That's like, yes, a lot of times anecdotal evidence is the best way to relate. But at the same time, there's always going to be exceptions. Of course, the easiest way to understand anything is statistics, but yes, you do need context. But statistics can always be manipulated or shown in a way that suits. I know there are some experiments people have done that really just comes down to how trustworthy and how much integrity do the people running the experiment have, or writing the story. But I mean, anecdotal evidence is the easiest thing to relate to, but at the same time, there's always going to be exceptions. Like, you can make a blanket statement about anything saying, well, the sun is yellow. But then you can also say, well, the sun has actually no real color. It's not a fireball. It's just a giant nuclear reaction, pretty much. You know, that's simplifying it. And it's just turned yellow because of the atmosphere we're in. Or be like, oh, the sky is blue. But, you know, there's times the sky isn't blue. But predominantly, if someone asked you what color is the sky, you'd say blue, like water. For the most part, that statement is true. But there are exceptions, like nighttime, or storms, or dusk, or on another planet. Yeah, but in general, like, okay, what color is the sky? The sky is blue. But there's always going to be exceptions to everything. Like, literally any statement you can think of, like, okay, like adorable, like cats are adorable. Cats are adorable. But there's going to be people that disagree with that. So, yeah. In general, you just have to... It's kind of like the whole assumption thing. Yes, you shouldn't jump to conclusions or make assumptions of things. But in general, when it comes to conversations, you have to make certain assumptions in the conversation in order for a conversation to, progress in any way. There has to be certain basic milestones, like same way with driving. You have to, like, obviously, yes, you should be defensive driving and be watchful of somebody else, like running a red light, but you have to drive as though you are expecting everyone to actually follow the rules of how to drive and but of course, be mindful that some aren't. But I don't know. Tangent. But you'd still be a jerk. Even if you weren't the number one jerk, second place still isn't bad. Sure, but at risk of sounding pedantic, you implied a singular antagonist with the phrasing of your question. And the single greatest force working against our protagonist is in fact himself. I think that's a pretty sound thesis, don't you? I guess. I don't like how little blame he is placed on the guy that's manipulating everyone, but I can't refuse his argument. Refute. Maybe, I guess you're right. Perhaps, but no matter what the role character plays, it still makes for fun discussion. I'm glad Judith was kind enough to recommend this book to us. As always, she has remarkable taste. I suppose it's no surprise that her preferred reading material turned out to be so divine. Whoa, divine, huh? Does she know you're whipping out the big adjectives for her, like that, number 2? Might want to tone down in case she ends up walking through the door and sees something else breaking out of you, if you catch my drift. Hello? That reminds me. There is one more thing I feel worth mention, Oliver. Oh? You're wrong about being second. There's nothing worse than second place. Being that close to absolute perfection and coming up short is sickening. Remember that. Anyways, I think this is a good point as any to finish up. We should probably return our books, seeing as you're not coming back here for a while. Let's go. We return our copies of The Stranger and thank the librarian, who smiles absently as she accepts our returns. Emil, now likely done with his session at the library, escorts me to the lobby. We leave the library, but there's still something bugging me. Hey, Emil? Yes. All this talk about villains has me thinking. Every decent story needs a villain in order to work, right? In a vague sense, yes. It's like you said earlier, at the very least, you need some sort of antagonistic force for the heroes to rise up and defeat. Then, is that why none of you guys are taking Violet seriously? Is it because you think the villain of our story has been defeated, and so there's nothing to actually worry about? That's not exactly it, but it's not exactly inaccurate either. I do earnestly believe we are at the end of our journey, Oliver. We came full circle in a sense. Anything more would simply be a drawn-out epilogue. So, that could explain why I believe worrying about Violet is somewhat unjustifiable. You really believe that? You really think we're completely done? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Then I can ask you one more question. Boy, you sure are talkative lately. It's fascinating. Yes, please ask me another. It's honestly quite thrilling. Okay. So who was the villain of our story then? Who exactly did we have to overcome? Emil for a second or two doesn't say anything. He just stands there rubbing the base of his chin until a confident smirk crawls across his face. Your best question today by far is also the simplest answer. It was the Sirens, Oliver, the monsters that lived in the book backside of our town's consciousness. The malady and longing of our species made flesh. That is what we had to overcome. It's as simple as that. So relax. If anything of note occurs in your absence, you can trust me to mail you the details as soon as possible. Emil walks over and puts his hand on my shoulder. Until then, thank you for the great discussions. I'll see you soon. Stay sharp. And with that, Emil ejects himself from the scene, and I am left on the patio of the library, unable to form a rebuttal. Again, her picture seems sad. I'm pretty sure Ashton is... Oh, she tripped. Hey, kid. How's... Alright. Skip. Oh. Nothing has changed? Andy and I arrived at the resting point a bit later than we normally do. After what feels like hours, fine. Give me a second, too. I feel like I put any more pressure on my legs, something's going to tear. Journal. Fiction. I don't have to catch anybody on Violet's handwriting anymore. So, start working on my first big assignment for the Midnight Guard today. It's an easy for her English class on the value of fiction. I got tasked with most of her English stuff for some reason. Essays are going to be tricky. I can't let too much of myself show in the language, otherwise it might sound like Violet. I'll probably just whip up something impossible for a teacher to argue against, like we've been telling stories for as long as humanity's been around, blah blah blah. So there's no risk of her being found out. Honestly, though, I've never enjoyed writing fiction. I know Emil and I are going to start seriously working on this together summer, but it'll be a job for value. But when probably primary goal of piece of writing is to craft a world and immerse the reader in it, there are some things that are just forced into the back seat. It's like having to clean up your room before you start playing video games. Yeah, well, I mean, I was saying a bit of that in the previous part of this game, was that sometimes you're writing a story, there are some things you have to leave out because it either messes with the genre you're writing or, throws the story off a rail. Like, you wouldn't want like a DBZ story that has a 5, episode Goku goes to college arc. Now, I mean, you could have like mentions that Goku's like doing some studying with Bulma in the background, but you want most of the actual thing to be about his training and the fights. Yeah, once the characters are drafted, the logic of the world works. The motives are implied, etc. Then you can actually start having fun. Who has time for that? Poetry, on the other hand, is quick and dirty. If you have something you want to figure out by your life, it only takes a little bit of setup before you're able to snuff out what you're after. A fiction, you have to make an entire second world just to help the world you live in make a little bit more sense. It just seems... I don't think I've seen that word before. Circuitous. There's too many clothes you have to put up before you can leave the house. Can even leave the house. Poetry is naked, though. It's honest. It makes sense. I'm not too sure how much lucidity a long, drawn-out lie would provide for me. Then again, this stuff we're doing for Violet is kind of like a lie. Maybe fiction isn't as bad when you're building upon it with other people. It's got to be less work at the very least. That's the whole point. You tear them and they'll grow back stronger. Man up, this is literally the last thing I need you to do today. Then you can make love to that bench for all I care. But then I'd get a splinter. Get off the damn bench, Oliver. Yeah, you're so frickin' stubborn, Andy. Hobble over to the picnic table and begin stretching my hamstrings. Stubborn is just another way to say tenacious. If I wasn't tenacious, I'd never get anything done. And Andy is just your weird way of saying Angelica. And if you weren't Angelica, then maybe, so you just called me Angelica. Which tells me you desperately want one more of your bones broken. Now, why is that, I wonder? Do you hate exerting yourself so much that you want me to send you to the hospital? I could just break a finger or two. I don't have to shatter anything vital. Or maybe I'd break your heart instead. And tell Judy what a rotten, lazy person you've become now that you're leaving us. Or how you told me to go fuck this bench. Oh my god, did you just swear? That's adorable. I didn't know you could do that. I thought it was something reserved for kids that actually hit puberty. Something, you've clearly never been on the internet, blah 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 blah. Blah? Blah, blah, blah. Blah? Blah. Blah! The two of us looked over each other and began laughing from deep within our core. And just like that, the hardened persona of my tough-as-nails coach crumbles under the weight of this absurd little moment. Oh man. Oh man. I'm gonna miss this, damn. You suck, you know that? You suck for making me laugh, you suck for leaving. Hurts, doesn't it? Yep, sure does. Nothing I can't handle, though. Our laughter quiets down, giving way to the sound of distant seagulls and the hum of vehicles on the road behind us. I don't know about Judy, though. Still, not sure if I can handle it yet, to be honest. She's laughed that hard plenty of times. Remember when Ashton got his fist stuck in the mason jar and Emil had to butter his wrist? She almost passed out. No, dumbass. I don't think she can handle you leaving Siren's call. I don't know if she's emotionally prepared for it. Oh. I spent a second or two trying to congregate my thoughts. Well, it's happening regardless. I don't know what else to say. It's not like I'm actually prepared for any of it myself either. I have a vague idea what it's going to be like. Lectures, crowded cafeterias, gross bathrooms, those things should be familiar enough. But other than that, I have no clue. Exactly. You could get mugged outside at the airport and drugged by one of your dorm mates just because you snore too loudly. Literally anything could happen. Andy leans her head back and stares into the sky like a turkey drowning itself in the rain. I guess that's why I'm always pushing you guys so hard. We'll make sure you're strong enough to handle this shit. But now that one of us is actually leaving, I can't help but wonder if I did enough. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Can't guarantee that. Neither can you. Oh, really? Look at what I've built, Oliver. Do you honestly think anybody is dumb enough to try and jump me at this point? It's a simple of nature that you just look strong, and that's enough to scare most people away. Nev actually went half as hard as I did during workouts, and that should be enough to take care of pretty much anything else they'd try and do to you. But even with our muses, none of us are tough enough to handle this stuff on our own. I only wish I had a little more time to fix that. And Andy turns her head from the sun and grabs the bill of her hat, clearly awaiting a response. We're plenty strong, though, Andy. We're all still alive, aren't we? Listen here, bench fucker. It's not good enough to just be alive. You need to be prepared for whatever has the power to rip that life away from you. You need to fight back when they try to feed that rusty frame of yours to the ocean. Right. Which reminds me, I know she might not say anything to you directly, but Judy is obviously expecting you to spend some time with her today. Have you gone and done that yet by any chance? Nope, not yet. Well, I know what we're doing then. Andy grabs my arm and tries to yank me off the table. Freaking ow! Hang on, we're going to visit her now? You know it. You smell like crap, but you can always wash up in the pool when we get home. I'm sure my sister will be thrilled to see you. Let's go, Slim. We're not getting younger, you know. There's still a part of me that can't resist the gravitational pull of Andy's enthusiasm, that small voice in the back of my head urging me to relinquish control and follow her to Judith. It's something primal. I imagine a moth drunk off the glow of a faraway flame. However... Wait. Let go of my arm. Just wait a second. Like magic, I speak up and Andy immediately releases my arm. I'm not planning on going to see her just yet. There are still some things I need to do on my own first. I'm sorry. I leave the park as fast as I can, never giving Andy the chance to respond. Surprisingly, she doesn't follow me as I leave. Journal page number 34. Oh, they're burnt. Just go next. April 8th, 2011. I got a call from Judith this morning saying I need to bring my swimsuit. We all go over to her house today. Apparently her and Andy worked out some sort of deal. And the deal involves us spending one of our breaks every day exercising in the pool instead of just sitting around eating cookies. Not gonna lie, this stuff is already hard enough already. I'm not looking forward to an exercise regimen on top of all the extra work. Still, I guess it's some pretty enough for all of us. We'll only have to do this once, maybe. Andy is a genius. In a way, I guess I didn't realize how tense it was just sitting around eating between work sessions until I stopped doing it. Our second break was a snack break, and I don't know this time around. It felt like waiting at a bus stop or something. But when I was in the pool, I couldn't think about anything else but swimming. It's like Andy kept us busy enough just not be distracted. What was her plan? I thought she was just being obsessive and wanted to get back into her old routine. But turns out one of the benefits of being obsessive is you know the exact situations your particular obsession is useful in. Judy and Emil have done a lot to hammer up the logistics of this initiative, but when it comes to the matters of the body and the heart, maybe something we should get back in the habit of asking Andy about. We should acknowledge what makes her different from us. We should maybe use it what it means to actually work as a team. These are different options. Seriously, settings. Yeah, it's not supposed to skip anything I haven't already read. So, you've said nothing different than normal, but I'll go with that because that's the only thing I can do that isn't cheating on my girlfriend. Are we skipping things? Like, I have it set to where we don't skip Like, I feel like different things happened. But, I have it set to where it only skips text I've already read. So, I'm confused. Apparently, an absurd number of gopher tortoises moved out onto the runways. What? Scientists radio unrestricted development in surrounding areas, primary cause of migration. But that wouldn't stop. What? But yeah, like... Can I read the stuff from earlier? Why is the log not go? Were there things that were said that... What? After church, Judy and I tried to escape it back to her house. Like we normally do. Funny enough, we saw Andy jogging down Flagler after we peeled out the parking lot. She flipped us the bird as we drove past, but even so, she looked really happy. Pretty sure I've only seen her once or twice at church. I'm tired of my life. I've known her. And holidays, no less. I'd bet money that after a certain point, the twins' parents basically gave up on trying to get Andy to go with them. It's probably for the best, though. I could never imagine living with that crowd, maybe exercise on its own kind of worship. I asked Judy what she thought, and she just said that as long as her sister was happy, then that's all she cared about. I can't imagine that being true, but I hope it is. We only have about 30 minutes or so before the rest of the family comes back from communion, so I asked Judith about Violet's situation. And since we got home, I know all of us were, but I think Judith knows I'm coming from. I know Alice and Violet keeps it. The exact details private. We both know the amount of makeup work she has to do is crazy. We also know that from Miss Lawrence that the school gets extra money from Violet going there. After all, they need a lot of resources to take care of somebody with epilepsy. Lip service aside, it's closer the rest of the faculty would be jubilant if a cash cow like Violet had to stay behind another year. Miss Lawrence even heard one of the coaches call Violet football money. Apparently that's kind of fucked up. Apparently that guy got a crotch full of hot coffee in the faculty room after that late week. Violet and I were told on the way home from school that it was a happy little accident. I brought up the idea of us forging some of Violet's work so she didn't by herself. It was a little embarrassing recommending something that deceptive. The words kind of just fell out of my mouth. It was then that Judith, the shining platinum president of the student council, said something I never thought I'd hear from. Let's make sure we nail her handwriting then. Okay, what? Those teachers of hers aren't stupid. If we doing this, we gotta be doing it right. Okay, so we're helping her graduate because she got behind on her studies. I mean, we are fighting like persona demons and stuff. So, like Persona 9, the video game. Guess I'd better get on it. Okay, are we aware of the loops at this point? Okay, I've read that before. But yeah, did we skip? Okay, well. Ashton's here again. Hers the only one that didn't have an additional. Okay, are you aware of the loop too? Hey there, Vi. Oh. Okay, so we're acknowledging that. Alright. Got promises to keep. So I think I'll head out. Okie dokes. Do you get any do? Dream big out there, alright? I'll see you back at the house. I wonder, it probably would have gone like, instead of me doing it all one like marathon session, if I just stopped by one time each day, it would have been little by little, it would have been progressing. I'll go here, see if something's different. Like developer of game, I don't think your skip text thing is working correctly. How about this? We'll go to settings, text speed. We'll up that. Where's auto? Auto? Bro, I don't even know who you are. So that is something I haven't seen. I don't even know who you are. So why the hell do you know I'm going to Asheville? So I don't think the skipping feature is working correctly. I bet it's anything that Judith is home today. I cross the threshold of her porch and press down on the glossy ivory doorbell. Yeah, this is different. I'll be right there. Or at least I don't remember it. A powerful tone rings out behind the door, followed shortly by Judith's familiar, comforting voice. At first, the door opens just a crack. Okay, first we'll stop this. It is only after she sees that it's me on the porch, and not some stranger, that Judith feels comfortable enough to put herself in the doorway. You came. I thought I stopped the auto thing by clicking. Okay, how about this? I stopped the auto thing! How? Stop! Hey, Judith, We'll make a save. Return. Stop! Yeah, this is different, so the skipping feature is not working correctly. Is it? Thank you, madam. I do believe I shall. So there's different stuff, but like, so I mentioned my teacher and curtsy before making my way into the house. Well, I mean, that is why we saved. Stop. Load. Okay. Main thing we confirmed is that it is skipping text. Judith's display of genuine appreciation and joy makes me pause for a bit. I'm a little embarrassed that I can't think of a meaningful way to follow her up. So I just kind of wave my hands back and forth and smile as if to say, yes, I'm here, and in fact, it's me. In fact, it is me. As lame as my getting the jazz hands alone, are getting elicit a giggle at least. Huh? What was that? Just me saying hello, I think. Hello, Judith. Do you want to hang out for a bit? I'm not interrupting anything, am I? No, not at all. I mean, no, you're not interrupting anything. Well, that's not entirely true, I suppose. Wait right there. I have the oven on. Just give me a minute. Oh, okay, will do. Judith runs back in the house, careful not to slam the door behind her. Yeah, either the skipping function isn't working correctly, or I just don't remember reading this stuff. But don't come in yet, please. But like the option to kiss her and that's something that never happened before. I mean it. Don't come in. Just a little bit longer. Sorry about that. We're good now. She steps back in the doorway and bows, leading my gaze inward with a flick of her wrist. Come in and sit down, good sir. I'll make us something to drink. Thank you, madam. I do believe I shall. I pull up the edges of my t-shirt and curtsy before making my way into the house. Judith's house, our base of operations, is as hospitable as ever. At this point, Andy probably would have stormed the front door or something at me from the bedroom. So Judith and I are likely the only ones here. I take a seat in the living room, while Judith half skips, half runs into the kitchen. After a deep breath, I notice something pleasant, accentuated. Like, I remember reading this. You said the oven was on, right? Okay, so my dialogue choices are different. By any chance, were you baking something vanilla-ish? Okay, so we're talking differently, and there are some differences. But yeah, so it's a surprise, Mr. Nosy Nose. But yeah, like I think the skipping function isn't working correctly. You'll find out soon enough. Don't worry. Is sweet tea good to drink? We still have some left over from last time. That sounds lovely. Do you mind shaking it up a little bit before you pour, though? The sugar just sinks to the bottom if it sits around for too long. I mean, doesn't everyone do that? No problem. Pour the rest, and then we'll chat for a bit. Judith, unsurprisingly, is as agreeable as ever. The way she waits on me makes me hate myself a little, but not enough to deny her kindness. Despite the pleasantries, or perhaps because of them, a sticky, sweet guilt begins to bloom in the pit of my stomach. But this, of course, is perfectly normal for us. So the skipping function, I think, is not working. Judith places a rather large cup of sweet tea on the coffee table and sits next to me. She opens a can of flavorless seltzer and drinks a sizable amount of it before turning her attention my way. So, where's Violet? I was expecting you two to be inseparable for most of the day. Honestly, she's probably still at the beach. She said she'd meet back up with me later. Help pack, though, so don't worry about it. I see. So you're satisfied with spending such a small amount of time with her? To shame, Oliver. I thought you'd end up being more devoted to your beloved. Her and I aren't too worried about running out of time together, if that's what you're getting at. Really? Is she still going to college with you then? Nope. Doing long distance until she moves to Asheville at the end of the year? I feel like these are leading questions, like she's negative. I feel like she's trying to get more information about, hey, are you guys going to be dating afterward, without actually coming out and saying it. Eloping with you in the Caribbean, without me knowing, under the cover of night. Good Lord, Judith. Wait, really? Nothing then? Wow. So today is really it, huh? You two have quite an unorthodox relationship. I mean, not really. It's healthier than most. Hey, Judith, why are we talking about this? Because she's trying to be subtle about trying to see if... I know you're still kind of mad at her, but why is Violet the first thing you want to talk about? Right now, shouldn't we be talking about pretty much anything else? No, you see, that's the fascinating part. You're so much more worried about our time together being valuable, even though Violet and I have the same pool hours to pull from. It's too strange for me not to focus on. I don't understand why you're making me such a priority right now. What are you talking about? Of course you'd be a priority, Judith. And yeah, we're friends. And we were like killing monsters in another dimension. You've been my best friend since I was like 7. I'm gonna see you for a while, so there's no way you wouldn't be a priority. Judith puts down her beverage and moves a little bit closer to me. I mean, you were already sitting next to me, so there's a limit to how much closer you can get. But you see, that's exactly why I didn't ask you to come over today, Oliver. I know everybody else was likely going to pressure you into hanging out with them. When in reality, you probably wanted to do was spend as much time with your lover as humanly possible. It was supposed to be kindness, my final gift to you as your friend. It was going to be me letting you be for the day. It would make sense after all things end up this way. Violet should be the center of your world, the object of your affection. I didn't want to be selfish, so I decided not to make myself a priority. After all, I wasn't the only one who ended up winning your love. Is this what I think it is? Oh no. But then you showed up at my door today. Judith wraps her arms around mine and pulls herself closer to me. It became painfully obvious that you really do care about me an awful lot. I know you always have, in your own way. But now it's only now, after being prioritized so highly, it's only just now that I begin to think. She pulls in even tighter and turns her face so it's only inches away from mine. Maybe you view me as more than just friends? Well, trying to make shorter videos. Bye, everybody.